The pressure is real right now for Alex Eala, because in just a few days she walks into one of the biggest moments of her young career. And strangely enough, the story is not just about winning matches. It is about surviving a ranking storm that could shake her position in the top 50, and here is the twist that makes this story fascinating. Because while some people believe the Miami Open could damage her ranking, others believe this tournament might actually become the stage where Alex Eala proves she belongs among the very best players in women's tennis. So the big question is simple. Is Miami going to hurt Alex Eala? Or could it launch her career to another level? To understand this moment, we need to go back just 1 year, to the tournament that changed everything for the young Filipina star, because the Miami Open was not just another event for Alex Eala in 2025. It was the place where she shocked people, surprised analysts, and suddenly forced the tennis world to pay attention. She did not just play well there, she made a deep run that few people expected. Semifinals. That result gave her a massive boost in ranking points and, more importantly, confidence. But here is where things get complicated when you perform that well at a big tournament. The next year becomes dangerous because now you must defend those points, and for Alex Eala the number is huge, 390 points. That is the number currently hanging over her head as the 2026 Miami Open approaches. And if you follow tennis rankings closely, you already know what that means. If she exits early from the tournament, those points disappear, and when points disappear, rankings drop. In the worst-case scenario, Alex Eala could fall outside the top 50. That sounds dramatic, and for some fans it might even sound scary, but here is the interesting part of this story. It may not actually matter that much, because if you really look at Alex Eala's 2026 season so far, the numbers reveal something that many people are missing. She is playing the best tennis of her career right now. Alex Eala sits 24th in the live WTA race. That means during this season alone she has already collected more points than many famous names, and when you look at that list it becomes even more impressive. She has collected more points in 2026 than Grand Slam champions like Madison Keys, Emma Raducanu, and Naomi Osaka. That alone should tell you something about her form this year. Alex Eala has quietly built a very solid season. Let us look at the journey. At the ASB Classic, she reached the semifinals and collected 98 points. At the Australian Open, the result was not what she wanted. She lost in the first round and gained just 10 points, but instead of letting that loss define her season, she bounced back quickly. At the Philippine Women's Open, she reached the quarterfinals. Then came Abu Dhabi, where she once again reached the quarterfinal stage and collected more valuable ranking points. After that came the Qatar Open, where she had a short run, but then things started to get interesting, because in Dubai she produced one of her strongest tournaments of the season, quarterfinals again, and that performance brought her 215 points. Then at Indian Wells she pushed even further. Fourth round, that run added another 120 points to her season. When you add everything together, the number becomes very clear, 591 points already earned this year. That is not the record of a struggling player, that is the record of someone who is consistently reaching the later rounds of big tournaments, and that is exactly why some analysts believe Alex Eala should not panic even if Miami becomes difficult, because the trend of her season tells a much bigger story. She is improving, and if that improvement continues, she can easily recover any points she loses. Still, there is one part of the season that creates a little bit of uncertainty: the clay court swing. For many players, clay is simply another surface, but for Alex Eala, it has been a challenge in the past. If we look back at her clay results in 2025, the numbers are not very encouraging. She won just one tour-level match on clay during that period. Her first clay event was in Oeiras, where she won a match against Anouk Cuevermans before losing to Punna Udvardy in the next round. Then came Madrid, where she defeated Victoria Tomova before facing a brutal challenge against Iga Swiatek, and we all know how dangerous Swiatek is on clay. That match ended her run quickly. The Italian Open was even tougher, where she lost in the opening round to Marta Kostyuk, and at Roland Garros, she exited in the first round against Emiliana Arango. So, when you look at that stretch, you see the concern: clay has not been her strongest surface, and if Miami points disappear and clay season does not bring results, the ranking pressure could grow. But here is the key word in this story: if, because tennis careers are not static. Players evolve, they improve their movement, they develop stronger shots, they become smarter competitors, and Alex Eala is still just 20 years old. At that age, improvement can happen very quickly, which brings us back to Miami, because this tournament might not be about defending points, it might be about proving how much she has grown. Remember something important: the Alex Eala who reached the Miami semifinals in 2025 is not the same Alex Eala arriving in 2026. She has played more big matches, she has faced stronger opponents, and she has built confidence from deep runs in major Events. So what if the conversation about rankings is actually missing the real story? What if the real story is that Alex Eala could go even further this series? That sounds bold, but think about her recent form. Suggests she can compete with top players when her game is flowing, her movement has improved, her shot selection has become smarter, and when she plays aggressively, she can put serious pressure on opponents. That is why some tennis fans are quietly starting to ask a very interesting question. Could Alex Eala become the dark horse of the Miami Open? Because tournaments like Miami often produce unexpected runs. A player catches momentum, confidence builds, suddenly the draw opens up, and before anyone realizes it, a surprise contender is fighting for the title. Could that be Alex Eala this year? It is possible, but there is one obstacle she must overcome: consistency. When Alex Eala is playing well, she looks dangerous against almost anyone, but when her level drops, the matches can become very difficult to watch, and we saw that recently in two matches that raised serious questions. The first came in Dubai quarterfinals against Coco Gauff. That match ended in a very tough scoreline, 6-0. 6-2. The second came at Indian Wells, where she faced Linda Noskova, and once again the match turned into a one-sided defeat, 6-2. 6-0. Results like that show the gap that still exists between potential and consistency. To win a WTA 1000 title, you cannot afford those kinds of performances. You need to maintain a high level from the first point of the tournament until the final 6 matches, sometimes 7-all against elite opponents. That is one of the hardest challenges in professional tennis. So when people ask if Alex Eala can win Miami, the honest answer is simple: yes, it is possible, but it requires her best tennis every single day, and that is where the story becomes fascinating, because young players often learn these lessons in stages. First, they surprise people with a big run, then they struggle with consistency, and finally they figure out how to maintain their level. Maybe Alex Eala is currently standing right in the middle of that process, which is why the Miami Open feels like such an important chapter. It is not just about defending points, it is about showing the tennis world that her breakthrough last year was not a lucky moment, it was the beginning of something bigger. Imagine if she reaches the quarterfinals again, or even the semifinals, suddenly the ranking fears disappear, the confidence skyrockets, and the narrative changes completely. Instead of asking if she can stay in the top 50, people start asking if she can reach the top 20, and that is the power of one great tournament. But there is another reason Miami could suit her game: the conditions. Hard courts in Florida tend to reward aggressive baseline players who can redirect pace and create angles. Those are exactly the areas where Alex Eala can be dangerous. Her ability to take the ball early and change direction can disrupt rhythm, and when she finds her timing, she can push even elite players into uncomfortable positions. That is why many fans remember her Miami run last year so clearly. She played fearless tennis, she trusted her shots, and she embraced the moment. If that version of Alex Eala shows up again, the draw could become very interesting. But before we get carried away with predictions, there is something important to remember: tennis is unpredictable. Every tournament has pressure, every match can shift momentum, and sometimes the biggest challenge is not the opponent across the net, it is the expectation inside your own mind. This year, Alex Eala arrives in Miami with much higher expectations than before. Last year, she was the surprise. This year, she is the player everyone is watching. That psychological shift can be difficult, but it can also be powerful, because when a player learns how to handle that pressure, something special can happen. Confidence becomes belief, belief becomes results, and results create new stars. So the real question might not be whether Alex Eala will lose ranking points in Miami. The real question is whether she is ready to take the next step in her career, and that is something we will discover very soon, because the 2026 Miami Open main draw be